Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode. We have a special episode for you. We have Raphael from Wealthy Expat. If you don't know him, you must be new to this channel. We've had him on a few times, and today's your lucky day. We have him on again. So Raphael, thank you so much for joining us.
For sure. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
So Raphael has really helped us out,
Yes.
starting our company.
We can speak from experience.
We've actually used his service and it was really nice.
Yeah.
And not only that, not only did we use his service, but the people that he's hired as well are amazing at what they do. So I'm not going to recommend anybody else that, from what we've done, only the people that we've experienced doing business with, and Raphael is the person. So thank you so much, man. You really helped us out.
It was definitely like a VIP experience. And then the networking of the people leading from one to the next for us is really super helpful.
I've been working for many years together. I remember how we started. You messaged me on WhatsApp and he said, "Oh, I'm Heidi from Crypto Tips. I don't know if you know us." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been watching you for like 3 years." Yes, I know. Very happy to help you. So that was fun. A couple of years, I think almost 4 years ago we started.
Yeah. I remember that day.
Time flies. I think we're in Bali. Oh,
I think we're in Dubai, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. I just remember. Oh, you wrote back already. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So we'd love to talk to you about your expertise, which is helping people obtain second citizenships, business planning for different jurisdictions around the world. We are familiar with your work through, getting set up in our company in Dubai, but now you're also expanding to other places around the world. So I'd love to learn more about that for people who are watching as well. So first things first, though, you did decide to renounce your US citizenship, which Toby and I have done as well. So can you tell us, if you want to, why you chose that and why you've chosen this path of helping other people get second citizenships? How did you get into that role?
For sure. So the first thing I did, I was a US citizen because I was born in Puerto Rico. Then I got my St. Kitts passport, same as you did. And once I had this one, and that's why I tell people to get a second citizenship, especially Americans, because once you have it in your hands, it makes the decision for you of renouncing. It makes a decision for you of moving somewhere. Because before you have another passport, and I talk to people that are just US citizens, I tell them, don't even think about renouncing. Get your second passport, travel to a couple countries with it, and then make the decision. And for me, it was an immediate yes. I traveled to one country and I thought, okay, I need to renounce this. I don't need the US citizenship. It's just clogging me down. And as you said in a video that we made, you don't have to worry about April 15. I feel the same way. I saw my calendar. My calendar told me, remember, it's tax day. I'm like, no, it's not anymore. So that's definitely something out of the calendar I need to get. And it just makes your life so much easier. Opening a bank account, opening a business, opening anything. You don't need to worry about the US following you. There's no, future. What if I make a mistake 10 years from now? What if I say something bad about the US? Anything like that. I think it's the best decision for a lot of people, but you should first get a second passport, whether that's by investment. And with crypto, you can easily do that. They still make it a bit hard because they still want to know how you originally bought your crypto. So if you want to get a St. Kitts passport, you want to get an Antigua, Dominica, you can do that. You can donate to the country, but they still want to know, how did you get the crypto in the first place? And a lot of people don't want to disclose that because they've traded so much crypto that it's just, at this point, it's so mumbled up. They don't know how to prove that. But I would still recommend you just get another passport as soon as possible.
I second that for sure. It's definitely worth the investigation, and you might find it's a lot easier than you originally thought. So it's definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you say would be the best citizenship for crypto? That they can buy, that people can buy?
I would say it depends on your budget and how much are you willing to let go of some of that crypto, because even people that are worth 50 million, if I tell them, look, if you put $1 million here, you'll get a citizenship in a month. They say, no, there is no way I'm going to give somebody $1 million of my Bitcoin. There's no way I'm going to keep it all. It depends how risk friendly you are. The best and fastest, I would say, is El Salvador. It's 3 to 4 weeks, but it's $1 million. There's source of funds check, but it's very minimal. The checks that they do is very minimal. They just want to make sure that you have a clean criminal record. Very straightforward process. You give them $1 million, you get your Salvadorian passport. So that's what I recommend to like ultra high net worth. And then there's all the other options, which are mostly Caribbean, St. Kitts, Dominica. The problem with them is they're taking too long at this point. So they're taking almost 1.5 years. In some cases, if you do the file wrong, and they're constantly being surveilled by the EU, they're constantly being checked by many different countries. Trump, for example, in the United States, although it's been proven false, but he did issue a travel ban. And in that travel ban, most Caribbean passports were included. And they're not banned from the United States. They are restricted from obtaining a visa to enter the United States. So, for example, if you get a St. Kitts passport with the intention of getting a US visa and that travel ban does go through, well, now you're screwed. Now you can't visit the US. So the Caribbean passports, although great, I have mine. I recommend people to get there. They're getting harder to get just because governments know these governments are just selling their citizenship in exchange for money. There's no tie to the country. There's no connection to the country. And anybody can get it if they have money. So they want to restrict that as much as possible. If you want to get other citizenships, just like, for example, Toby did here, I would recommend looking at your family tree, your grandpa, even your parents in some cases. Like a lot of US citizens, their parents are from a really high level EU country. They just left when they were 3 years old and they have no connections. They're still a citizen. They never renounced. Get that citizenship and it's for free. Just, it depends how much you trust these companies, but go get a DNA test and see what percentage you are of different places, because you might be 75% Irish. And it turns out you can get an Irish passport, and now your US passport is kind of useless for you. You just use your Irish one. Yeah. And then after you do that, I would recommend getting into citizenship by exception, which is kind of what we do. For example, I have a Serbian passport, and Serbia is a great country for crypto because you can buy property with crypto. You can start a business in crypto. It's not as easy as Caribbean. You can't just give them money and they'll give you a passport. You have to do more connections. You have to, for example, buy property, hold it for a certain amount of time, spend some time in Serbia, hire people in Serbia, really contribute to the economy, have strong ties to the country, and then by order of the president or prime minister, you get accepted towards citizenship. So this is what we kind of do based on the profile. We tell them, if you're ultra high net worth, El Salvador. If you're medium high net worth, probably Caribbean, citizenship by descent, or some sort of a long-term plan like Portuguese Golden Visa, which I recommend you to get ASAP because it might close soon based on high-level sources. They're saying it's so easy to get an EU passport through Portugal that they want to restrict that as well. So I think it's going to become harder to have options around the world. And governments are going to try to cut those as much as possible.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, we've seen that even since we got our St. Kitts and Nevis passport, the price is almost doubled. And so that's something that we're always encouraging people to, is to take advantage of the opportunities now if you're thinking about it, because you can't take them for granted. They're not promised in the future. And especially as, like this concept of like countries competing for your citizenship, the powers that be that can influence that and discourage that are going to do whatever they can. So then they have, their control over their citizenry and they don't lose, them. Like thinking about something like a global crisis, which is World War III, is kind of like the boogeyman that people have been bringing up for a while now. What do you think is the best way for someone to prepare for that? We talked about second citizenships. Is there anything else that people should, be focused on in terms of research, or what their attention should be paid on to protect themselves in that situation?
If you are not ready to have a second passport, because sometimes I talk to some people and I tell them, oh, you should get a second citizenship. And to them, it's such a foreign thing. To us, it's so simple. It's like, you send money to a country and you get citizenship. To some people, it's such a foreign thought. They would never do it. You can start by having just an ID card from a different country. For example, you can go to the UAE, get an ID card, and now you're not a citizen. You can't renounce your US citizenship, but you have a new country that you can always move to. If there's some chaos in the United States, you can move there. Or you can at least open a bank account if you're a non-US citizen, or even if you are, you can open an exchange account with your Dubai ties, so you can start diversifying from your country. For example, if more and more crypto regulations start coming in to your country, you can always just get residency in another place. Like, for example, I have a lot of European citizens that get residency in Panama, Costa Rica, Serbia, countries outside of the European Union, to have ID cards from these places, and then they can open exchange accounts. They can not be under EU regulations. Always follow the law, always pay your taxes if you need to, try to avoid them legally or optimize them legally. But the point is to have more personal freedom. In this case, it's really freedom from your government, from your own government. And you don't have to get another passport. You can always just collect different ID cards, which is what you've done. You have a bunch of them around the world. You spend time in Indonesia. So it's like, you don't need to stay in the same country all the time also.
Yeah. Also, it was super helpful for me to have, I mean, Toby has his German citizenship through descent. We're married. So that gave me permanent residency in Portugal pretty fast and easy. And that status paired with my St. Kitts and Nevis passport actually gave me really easy access to Mexico, which without that, just my St. Kitts and Nevis, it would be, I don't think I was even eligible to apply for a visa. So yeah, like holding residencies can also in some ways strengthen the passport that you have. And it's a great point that it gives you the right to reside somewhere else without having necessarily the passport.
I mean, it did take me like 6 years to go
Yeah,
ahead
I
and
see.
get the citizenship, and like I couldn't even find my grandmother's
It's
or
quite
my
a story.
grandfather's or my mother's birth certificate. Like it was all gone. Like so,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I'm probably not going to get it. And 6 years later,
Yeah.
ended up getting it. So that was like unbelievable.
I mean, that story in itself is a perfect example of why having a plan B is important, because his family had to flee an insane regime in Germany in the 40s. And now here we are 80 years later, and it's, you know, like things are flipping all the time. So yeah, like now it's beneficial to have a German passport for some reasons, and
Sure.
and not the US. And when his family kind of fled to the US, and you
I'm like, I'm out of here.
made a different decision, and that's fine. But that's a perfect example of like things are always changing. And so if you can have yourself diversified as much as possible, you can be prepared for whatever might come. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is it?
yeah.
History doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes. I think it's Mark Twain or something. Yeah, I mean, you can see what's happening in the U.S. I just don't want to be there. I'm much safer in Portugal or,
Yeah.
Indonesia.
I don't know when a country changes also in like 10, 20 years. Because also, for example, I'm in Poland right now. And even 20 years ago, in our lifetime, people didn't want a Polish passport. Like the Polish passport was trash to them. They wanted an American passport. And a lot of people renounced their Polish citizenship to get something else. And now they're trying to get it back because now it's EU. Now you can travel all over the world. And it's like, you never know, in 10, 20 years, something drastic can change in your country's reputation. So collecting passports, in my opinion, even though you might think, well, this country is not that great, but if it's developing well, and if it's heading in the right direction, if it's not taxing their citizens all over the world, it's not regulating them through, then I would do that. And I have, for example, Canadians that are giving birth in Mexico. And to some people, giving birth in Mexico is such Mexico maybe for some surgery or something, but these people are building a life in Mexico, getting Mexican citizenship, because they know in the future, probably Canada is going to start taxation just like the United States. I want to have my Mexican in case I need to renounce my Canadian. So
smart. Yeah. That's great.
So yeah, for those who want to really consider second citizenships, whether it's through, well, maybe it's different. Let's talk first about like citizenship by investment, whether it's in the Caribbean or options in the EU. What are like kind of the standards to be expected for like documents or like background checks? Like just so people can know right off the bat if they want to continue to pursue that, what should they expect?
So I would put two people in two categories. It's how you make your money, mainly what's going to differ in this case. So they're all going to ask for a birth certificate, criminal record check. They're going to do due diligence on you, but they have very strict due diligence. So they do basically every check on every country possible. And if you pop up, there's a risk level of 0 to 10. So if your risk level of above, let's say 2, then they start digging deeper and asking for more documents. If your risk level is 1, then they consider you a low risk and they proceed. The thing that does matter is the source of your funds. So most people that are going to watch this, you have crypto, but how did you get that crypto? And are you able to show source of funds outside of crypto? Because if you have, let's say, 99% of your wealth in crypto, but you also have a marketing agency that makes 30K a month, well, it's very easy to prove how you got 250K. You were making 30K a month for the last 3 years, therefore you saved up 250K, and you can do that. Versus I just have all crypto. That's going to be really hard to prove to the government, look, this is legit, this is how I got it. Because even though these governments are accepting crypto as source of funds, in most cases, they're going to want to know how you transacted the crypto in the first place. And it's not, I bought Bitcoin 7 years ago. That really doesn't work. So you have to kind of put this plan together. I would say start if you want to get the crypto friendliest place out of all of this would be Antigua and Dominica. Right now, those two are kind of the Grenada, I would say, is also top. St. Kitts does accept crypto, but they're a lot harsher on it. And the due diligence is getting worse over time. When you got it, I think that was the easiest period. When I got it a couple of years after, it was starting to get more and more. They were starting to check more. They asked me more about my money. They asked me a bunch of questions. They asked me, oh, who is this person that sent you 20 grand? We think there's a high risk here. Now there's interviews. There's deep due diligence. They're like, if you have a weird payment, if something doesn't add up, like you have 4 companies around the world, they all start at different dates in different countries, they're going to check why. If you have a bunch of exchange accounts, bunch of money going into a hardware wallet and then back to an exchange, they're going to ask about that. Monero, they're going to ask about why you're using it. So it's like, if you want to get a second citizenship, the more you wait, the harder and more regulated it's going to be, a more harsher process is going to be in due diligence. So there's nothing you can do. It's just doing it ASAP, basically. But the one thing that does matter is how you got your money into crypto in the first place.
Now, I was intrigued when you said, too, about the citizenship through Ancestry. If you say, you do like a blood test, you can prove that your heritage or you're like 75% Irish. Is that enough to get an Irish citizenship? Or you probably have to prove, like Toby had to prove that his mother... Or no, usually you have to prove that your other generations also held a citizenship there. So you're saying like the 75%, blood is like a hint for you to look for that option. Okay.
So I'm for example 70% Spanish from Spain, but from the 1800s. So it's just nobody married any other races, and it kept the blood kind of Spanish. But it's so far removed that Spain's like, we don't care. To us, you're not Spanish. Okay. So what it gives you is kind of a hint. And I've had clients that did a DNA test and they got a second citizenship thanks to this DNA test, because it might show you like Italy now is restricting their process, but let's say you're like 90% Italian. There's 100% some citizenship route there. You just have to actually find the documents. So you pay 10, 20K to a lawyer in Italy, and you get your Italian passport after 3 to, in some cases, 8 years. But it's basically for free. It's a top-tier passport. And in my opinion, it connects you to your ancestors. So that's pretty cool. If you can connect to somebody from the 1800s that's in your bloodline, that's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
Going back to your experience with St. Kitts, it just reminds me, like when we did it, I guess it was pretty easy. Yeah. And then when you did it, it was a little harder. Now it's like really hard kind of. This is like exactly what happens with crypto. It's like the earlier you are in something, the better it's going to be. Like for instance, crypto, when I first started, there was no KYC. I put in a fake email address and blah, blah, blah. That was pretty much it. And then I have an exchange, and then I can open another exchange within like 3 minutes, guys. And now it's like, oh, here's your ID, and oh, please, what's your eating schedule or something stupid like what they want to know. And it's just like, what a joke it's become. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the earlier you are on something, the better. So the sooner you start getting like a second citizenship, really think about it hard. Don't wait. Don't be like, what do you call it? Reactive. Most people are reactive. That's why they go to a voting booth and tick a box. That's reactive voting. Okay. You got to be proactive. You got to take your future in your own hands, use your money, use your feet, and go. That's it. Don't be lazy. All right.
Yeah.
Advice for moving somewhere else, like moving some assets also, because you don't have to. There's a lot of people that don't want to move somewhere. They don't want to renounce. They don't want to go anywhere else. But you can start, for example, buying real estate somewhere. And I have some clients like that. I have a billionaire basically who runs a plastic company in an Asian country, and he cannot move. His company's worth multiple billions of dollars. He's not going to move anytime soon, but he has like 7 passports because he's basically looked for every single citizenship opportunity. He listens to it. He pays that government. Either he gets it, or he starts a business somewhere else, or he exports some products there, gets that passport, or he just gets residency. So at this point, his passport is full of like different 10-year visas, Mauritius, multiple different passports. And you can also do that. You can diversify in terms of, yeah, I'm staying here, but just in case something happens, I'm going to go there. And he's also looking at China with Taiwan, and he's not really sure about Asia. So he might shift his business. And you might have 1 or 2 days in some cases to move. So that definitely good to diversify.
Wow.
Yeah. Which countries' programs are you like most confident in? Either for like the strength of the passport or like the program's longevity itself. Yeah.
Oh, longevity is a tough one. There's no longevity here. It's, I would say the least controversial one, in my personal opinion, right now would be Antigua, just because usually St. Kitts takes the hit of every single regulation because it's the most popular one, it's the longest running. So the one that we have, it's kind of the country that always gets the hit, and then the others are included in there. Antigua and Grenada are the ones that get the least hate. And Grenada, for example, was not included in the travel ban from Trump.
Oh, wow.
So it's maybe because they have the E2 treaty with the United States, so you can get an E2 visa if you live in Grenada. Nobody else knows why, to be honest, just speculation. But it's probably because not that many people know that they sell their citizenship. So if it's kind of shifting where the more popular a program is, the worse it is long term. So Portugal, for example, extremely popular. Many people got Portuguese golden visas. Well, now it's getting harder and harder. Now the naturalization period is longer. Now the actual acceptance is like almost 2 to 3 years in some cases. So the more popular something gets, the more obviously governments want to regulate it, and the harder it's going to be. So I think also looking at future programs that pop up, for example, Georgia said they were going to launch a program. Literally 2 days later, backtracked on it because probably they got an EU call saying, look, if you launch this program, your whole country's not going to get any more EU funding. Good luck running your country without EU funds. And they probably pulled it back. But I would look at these new programs that might pop up with these, in my opinion, countries where you can also open a bank account, countries that you can go to, countries that are more geographically within where you're going to be. If you're going to be in Europe, Georgia makes a lot more sense than getting something in St. Kitts. But there's some people that love living in the Caribbean, so that could also be your plan long term.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect example too. For those of you who don't know, Rafa also interviewed us for his channel on Wealthy Expat on YouTube. So go and check that out. But we spoke in that interview about regulations in crypto, how people tend to be so pro-regulation now, but little do they know, it's exactly what you just explained, that the earlier you get into a program, the easier it is for, yourself and just the possibility of getting that opportunity. And then as regulations ramp up, as the spotlight is shown on these programs, regulations come in and clamp down. So let me know if you're pro regulations too, even though if it's going to take yourself out of the game and your ability to take part. Yeah. So also, okay. Yeah. Like you said, longevity isn't really a thing because things are always changing. What is the most common way that a program will change in the future? Let's say, Georgia, well, these new programs that you're talking about that are coming out, what do you foresee? How do you foresee them changing in the future? That's kind of inevitable.
Sorry, the fire alarm is sounding. Give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's all good.
Okay.
My neighbor, bro. cooking something.
Some pierogies.
Pierogies, yeah, exactly. Hey, yeah, you should come to Poland. It's really
I know.
Yeah, I know.
come in summer. Don't come any other.
Don't come in the winter.
No, I tested it out because it turns out with a Mexican passport, actually it's very like I have obviously the oh this is recording, but anyway, I have it, and it turns out they have treaties with Italy, I think Austria and Poland that they signed before they joined the EU, and basically Mexican citizens get a 90-day visa every time they enter. So it's not like Schengen rules where you have, 90 out of every 180.
Yeah.
As a Polish person, you enter Poland and you get 90 days in Poland. You exit, you enter, you get another 90.
That's
So
nice.
it's like it's what was the whole point of this?
Do you have to go
Oh yeah,
back to Mexico? No.
yeah. I wanted to test it out. No, you need to go outside of the Schengen area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so to like UK or something. But I wanted to test it out, like living here 4 months straight without exiting, and that was a terrible idea. I'm not doing that again. So
What happened?
no, just the winter. It's just horrible. Like
Okay.
it's just brutal. I hate it. So
Yeah.
keep going.
I can imagine it's gloomy there. It's no fun.
Cool.
Yeah, we don't have to do that last question. If you have questions to ask,
I mean, I had a couple questions.
Yeah.
I guess we'll
go
start
right
here.
into it.
So tell me, how does the El Salvador passport, like, I mean, is it really good for traveling? Does it open up the world to you? Like, and then also, what other citizenships that you can buy really open up the world to you? Like, what would you say the best bang for your buck is?
Open up the world, it's subjective to a lot of people because you might want to go live in Asia, for example, and then I would suggest other things like Cambodia has a program. You can give them 250 grand and get that, but it's useless for the rest of the world. So if open up the world, you mean like you're really going to do nomad and you're going to travel all over the world, then having one passport, in my opinion, is not enough. I would combine it with something like a PR in Europe. So if you want to get permanent residency and you're not married to a European or anything, you can do Malta. And then Malta for $100,000, you can get PR. And that's a permanent residency. You're never going to lose it. And you can basically go to Malta. You can live in Malta. Malta is also low tax on crypto. And you can get a program like that combined with a Caribbean program. Okay. El Salvador, in my opinion, does not open the world up to you because you don't have access to a lot of countries, like, for example, Mexico. You don't have access to the US if you want to go there to visit family. You don't have access to Australia. A lot of different key countries that you might want to go to. You don't have access to them. But it's good enough. It has Schengen. It has a lot of Latin America. It has a lot of Asia. So it's really subjective as to where you want to fly. I would say all of the currently available citizenship programs, they have very similar visa-free travel. It's going to be Schengen area and the EU. It's going to be a little bit of Asia, a little bit of Latin America, a little bit of, UAE from time to time, or Africa a little bit. So if you really want a top tier passport and you want to get it fast, that would be Malta. Malta's €1 million. But the problem is the due diligence in Malta is ridiculous. They're going to go deep, deep, deep. So if you're going to use crypto as a source of funds, I probably don't recommend it. They're going to ask so many questions that it's just not worth it. Unless you're worth, over 50 million, you really want a EU passport fast, that could be something to do. But in most cases, if you want to open up your world, if you want to kind of travel everywhere, you want to renounce your US citizenship, for example, you can't get citizenship by descent. There's no other way for you to do it. Caribbean passport plus some residency, some PR, or citizenship by exception in a place like Serbia, Georgia, something like that, where you have a little bit better visa if you travel. You have a country you can live in, spend some time in, and then have residency permits on top of. Because residency in European Union, for example, gives you access to a ton of other countries, like Saudi Arabia, for example. If you are a lot of nationalities, if you have PR in Europe or long-term residency in Europe, you can enter Saudi Arabia without a visa. So it's like the European Union is obviously seen as a very legitimate union. So if you have residency there, that gives you access to a bunch of other places. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then what about this? What about the real estate option? Like, where would you say would be the best place for somebody to buy a citizenship? Buying real estate for citizenship that you know of.
The problem is they've cut down so much on that. I got the Spanish golden visa before it closed, so I bought a property in Spain and I got my visa just because I don't know. I'm from Spain. I couldn't get a passport, so I got my golden visa. I was kind of just getting it for that. That closed. Portugal killed the real estate option. It's only fund. Hungary was going to launch a real estate option. They killed that. Now it's only a fund. The only real estate options that I would recommend would be St. Kitts through an ultra luxury brand like Four Seasons. Don't go and buy some new apartment complex, anything like that. Just buy a very legitimate option like the Nevis Four Seasons. Obviously, it's going to stay there long term. Like it's Four Seasons. They're not going to steal your money. Probably do that. And then St. Lucia has a bond program if you want to invest in government bonds. Other real estate options, Latvia has a long-term golden visa that's $250K in real estate. And who else is a real estate option? Wow, I think it's only Latvia. Yeah. There's barely any real estate options. And outside EU, there's going to be like Montenegro has a real estate option. Serbia has a real estate option for residency. Georgia has a real estate option. Colombia, Mexico. Like there's a bunch of countries that'll give you short-term or PR. Panama has PR through real estate. So you're not going to get a lot in EU through real estate, but outside EU and in these countries like Panama, for example, if you're Canadian, you can go to Panama, get permanent residency by buying real estate. You can buy the real estate in crypto, and then you don't need to pay any taxes because you're living in Panama and you pay zero crypto tax. So it really depends what you want to do. It's very subjective, but yeah, through real estate, it's mostly just going to be residency unless you want to do and Turkey, 400,000 into real estate. That's going to be a passport, but that takes a long time. That's a year and a half. It's not such a great passport in my opinion, but it's good for diversification. Like I have some Europeans that want to get Turkish to open up the other side of the world. So,
I mean, are these like real estate options? Do people usually keep them over the long run?
No, they sell them.
Okay, I was just curious.
Most people are gonna sell them. Like in Turkey, as soon as the limit passes, I've had clients that like 3 days later they sold the property.
What is it like? 3 years? 3 years? Okay.
Some countries is 3, 5, and in some cases 7.
Okay.
Depending on the restriction.
Just sell it. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, but I mean, they at least in Turkey, I guess they sell it in USD, right, instead of Turkish lira, which is kind of nice, I guess.
And those who bought it at 250 probably made a solid profit.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that's why I say like get in as soon as possible if you really want a passport because it's probably going to go up in price. Inflation is obviously ridiculous. So you might actually make a good profit and get your citizenship. So you got paid to get a passport in that case.
Yeah. Jeez, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
I think that's it.
Okay.
For right now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rafa, for enlightening us on all the ins and outs of citizenships and second citizenships. In the future, we'd love to do more videos with you talking about really specific areas. Again, the EU, South America, places that you're exploring. To just enlighten those of you who are watching on your options for second citizenships. It's something that Toby and I have done. So it's obviously something that we present to you on this channel. It's a part of our life. So we love to try to inspire you guys too to learn more about what your options are.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you guys check out wealthyexpat.com, Wealthy Expat on YouTube. Highly recommend. And yeah, super helpful information there too.
Definitely. He's a good guy. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Talk to you soon, guys.